Hey everyone, it's Chainsaw Gears 12 here, back again with another special review today. Today I'm reviewing Whitechapel's self-titled album, Whitechapel, that came out on June 19, 2012. Anyway, so let's jump off into the track listing and the people that played on this album before I jump off into talking about this album and how I feel about it. So anyway, let's jump off into the track listing first. Make It Bleed, Hate Creation, Culturalist, Dementia, Section 8, Faces, Dead Silence, The Night Remains, Devoid, and Possibilities of an Impossible Existence. Equals out to 10 tracks. Really great music. Before I jump off on that. Anyway, so let's jump off into the people that played on this album. Phil, of course, on vocals. Ben Savage, Alex Wade, and Zach Householder all on guitars. Gabe Crisp on bass guitar, and Ben, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he is on drums. So anyway, let's talk about this album and how I felt about it when I first heard it. So before I actually heard the actual album and was like thinking, oh boy, here we go, because I bought A New Era of Corruption just off the cuff. I just bought it. I heard the single The Darkest Day of Man, but I really didn't hear much else of the record, and it feels like that they didn't catch that magic that they caught on This Is Exile. Now, for this self-titled Whitechapel album that came out today, wow. Let me just say this, people. If you are a somewhat Whitechapel fan and you love that This Is Exile record, you love that kind of stuff, you're going to love their self-titled album, Whitechapel. Why? Because it feels like to me they caught that same magic, they caught that same structure of writing songs that they did on This Is Exile, and it feels like they stepped up to the plate and actually took it a step further in some ways, in my opinion, of course. Because I've been a fan of them since This Is Exile, and I've, like I said, bought A New Era of Corruption. But A New Era of Corruption, in my opinion, just didn't catch that feel of what Whitechapel's supposed to be, and I'll probably do another review for that album at some point. But for this album, the self-titled album, it feels like to me that, wow. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but wow. Because this album gives you everything that you want from a Whitechapel album and more. It gives you that heaviness, raw sound of guitar tones. It gives you those amazing drum patterns, those amazing heavy drums that you're known to love from Whitechapel. It gives you that amazing low growls and those high screams from Phil that you've always loved from Whitechapel, and they sound a lot better. That's what really is awesome, because it feels like Phil has took it a step further to make his growls more heavy, more raw, and just a really good sound, and his high screams are better than ever in my opinion. It feels like his vocals have took a step further from the last album to this one, and it really shows. It really shows, and his lyrical content is not getting strained, or they're not getting repetitive or recycled. It feels like he's coming up with new ideas, and it really shows because he has a lot of great lyrical content on this album. He has a lot of great lyrics in this album. He has a lot of great lines that you remember in your head when he's been saying on this album, and that's one of the key things I want to say is that his vocals, you can actually understand more of what he's saying on this album than previous albums before you even have to look up the lyrics for the album on some website. You can actually understand most of them, and that's what really good on this album. Now, the production quality on this album is a lot better than the past records. The guitar tone is so much more solid. It sounds a lot more crunch, but it has a lot of that clean aspect of it. You can actually hear and understand what they're playing, the chord progression, the notes they're playing. It really stands out. The production quality on this album is amazing, like I said. Now, one thing that Whitechapel did add is these piano aspects. They added piano at the very beginning of the album. As soon as you hit track 1, piano bit comes in, and then these violins slowly come in to add in that extra effect on those. But then all of a sudden, here comes a riff, and you're like, oh boy. And when this riff kicks in, you're going to be like, oh crap, here we go. And then it slams you with amazing lyrical content from Phil, and it's getting you ready, and then he says go, and then the band jumps off in this really fast riff. And like right there, you know what you're getting yourself into. An amazing Whitechapel album. And I feel like this album just stands out because each individual song stands out in its own right. I feel like this album has a lot of potential, and it gives it to you, because this album, I think, they were looking at it as, you know, we want to show ourselves. We want to show what we can do, and they showed it off very well. And I saw them live a couple months back, and I did a review for it, and if you can see, I'm wearing their shirt, and I'm not regretting this, but they played Hate Creation at the show, and it sounded amazing. On this album, it sounds amazing as well. And like I'm gonna get back into this, what I was gonna say, but I jumped off into when I saw them live. But live performances are amazing. But anyways, this album, each individual song has a unique thing that makes you remember that song. because it's not like just, well, you remember like 4 or 5 songs off of like This Is Exile, and the other ones you just don't remember. When you listen to this album all the way through, about a good 2 or 3 times, you're gonna remember each, like these sections. You're like, what song's in that? And when you actually hear it, you remember it. And I think that each song has a unique purpose, whether it's great lyrical content or great lyrics from Phil, great guitar riffs or chord progressions that really make you like, wow, it makes your head bang, because like, wow, this riff's amazing. Or it's an amazing guitar solo, which that is one thing they did. They've added a lot more guitar solo work, and each guitar solo sounds different from the last. It's not like they write 2 guitar solos that sound kind of similar, but then, of course, they switch it up a little bit faster, slower. But each individual guitar solo on this album is different in a unique way, and it actually stands out. So each guitar solo stands out from the others. And that's what's amazing about that, is that they added more guitar solo aspect, because I loved it when Whitechapel wrote guitar solos, but they didn't do a lot of them. But they've added more on this album, and I really did enjoy that. And one other thing that I really did enjoy is the new drummer, Ben. He really stands out. He fits Whitechapel in a great way. It really shows in this album, because he does a lot of drum fills. He really keeps up with the band well. He's not missing a beat. It feels like he was meant for Whitechapel, and it feels like the old drummer never left, in my opinion. That's what it feels like when he's playing on this album. It feels like the old drummer never left, and he's still there, but of course they got a new one. But I think they've stepped up to the plate with this new drummer, because of course he is amazing, and he was amazing live, and that's what really you have to ask for from a drummer, is can he keep up with the music, the old, and can he keep up with writing new music? And he stands out. He's an amazing drummer, and it's really awesome, and he has a great drum tone on this album. It's great that his drums are that audible, and he's really good. He really stands out to me, in my opinion. I personally think he's kind of better than the old drummer, but that's just me. But so we get into that. But so, one thing that Whitechapel did on this album that I really did enjoy, that they didn't do on A New Era of Corruption, was they brought back an instrumental, Devoid. Now, when you listen to the instrumental, you're going to go, oh, it sounds kind of repetitive, oh, it's so easy to play. Yes, it might be easy to play. It sounds kind of easy to play. I bet I could learn it if I learned how to detune my guitar down to that level and actually learn how to play it. But in my opinion, when you write an instrumental and it sounds that epic, because to me it sounds epic, it sounds awesome, it's simple, but it's awesome. And I think when you can write a section or a whole entire instrumental song like that, that's simple yet epic and it sounds awesome, I think you did something right. And I think that they did that because it leads off from Devoid into the last final track, which is, let me look up the track real quick because I want to talk about that, was Possibilities of an Impossible Existence, which is the ending track, and I personally loved it because the song actually ends with piano bit at the end, but the song starts off with this fade in, and then it comes up with this really awesome chord progression riff that sounds really awesome, and you can't stop your head from banging to it. That's what's awesome about that, is that they wrote an epic ending for this album. And I will admit they had an epic ending on A New Era of Corruption, but this song is a lot better, and it has a lot more structural changes, and I think that Whitechapel stepped up to the plate when they wrote these songs on the guitar aspect of writing more structures and having a better feel of what they're going to do in the next part of the song and everything. It feels like that they took their writing to the next level, and it's really shown on this album, and this album just stands out in everything. Now, one key thing I want to throw out there real quick, the reason why this song, in my opinion, is amazing, but it's not a perfect 10, because the bass aspect, Gabe's bass is not really audible in this album, and I really wish they would have at least showed him maybe a little bit, because they have this new piano aspect, they got some clean guitar riffs, but in my opinion, they don't show Gabe off that much on bass. And they play a lot of low chord riffs and a lot of low riffs that it's hard to hear his bass because his bass is detuned with the rest of the guitars. But his bass isn't really that audible. It feels like that his bass is just there, but it's not really heard. But hopefully maybe on the next album they can feature Gabe on something or have a song written around the bass aspect. But that's the only thing really I have to say about that, is that his bass is only that audible. I bet if you put it in your car and you have good speakers, you can blast it, you can hear the bass, but in my opinion, I really couldn't hear it that much. But other than that, this album really stands out, and I'm really going to have to give it, guys, I'm going to have to give it a 9.5 out of 10. This album, in every way, is an amazing thing, and it's amazing work from a great band, Whitechapel. So if you're looking for a band that writes amazing guitar work, it writes amazing structured songs, has really dark lyrical content, has just amazing guitar solo work, amazing like different changes of songs. It has a different meaning for each song, a different feeling for each song. Check out Whitechapel's self-titled album, Whitechapel. You won't regret it. But as always, guys, if you like the video and subscribe for more metal videos. And as always, guys, also comment down below and let me know what you think about this album. Let me know what you think about Whitechapel in general. And just let me know all around what's your favorite Whitechapel song or what's your favorite song off this new album. So that's the end of the review, guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow.